And welcome everyone. It's Tuesday and it's time for the Writers Corner live show. We connect authors to each other and we help readers find new authors to love. You probably already have your favorite type of book, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, but you never know. We may just introduce you to your new favorite genre to love, or even help you discover some books that don't fit into any particular genre. You will meet some seasoned as well as new and aspiring authors. Some of our seasoned authors will share their tips and tricks of how to get published right the first time. On the Writers Corner live show, you get to hear the backstories straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So join us live every week and get the insider scoop. Do let us know in the comments where in the world you are watching from. If you're catching the show on the replay, please do type replay in the comments. Welcome, everyone. It's another episode. I can't believe it's already episode 16. So I'm not going to waste any time and I'm going to welcome my co-host, Mary.
Hi, Brigetti. Good morning here. Well, yeah, it's good late morning here. Good evening for you. How are you doing?
How are you? I'm good.
Good.
Can't complain at all.
I'm excited. We're already on episode 16. It's great.
I know. Can you believe it? It's crazy. Time's gone by so quickly.
Absolutely. It's totally blossoming and we're so excited.
Yes, we are. So for any of you who are watching the show for the very first time, my co-host Mary is an award-winning author of the Poolicious children's book series, and she's currently working on a screenplay. And Mary is a mother, and she has got 3 little inspirations at home, beautiful kids. She's also a special needs mom. She's an advocate for special needs and disabilities, and she's a live streamer like me. And she lives in Nashville in the USA, and I'm Cape Town, South Africa. So isn't it wonderful that we are able to connect worldwide?
Yeah, it's absolutely lovely. I love it. And I'm so grateful that we started this together. We started this mission together to bring authors to the world and help people meet new authors and find a new author and a new book. We're super excited about how well it's taking off. We got so many exciting guests coming. We have an amazing guest on today. We're very excited, and it's a special opportunity to have him on today, is it not?
Yes, it is. And it's special because our guest is Gilbert Martin, and he's a very private person and rarely appears in public. So I would say it's amazing that we even have him as a guest today. So he's written many articles and editorials and various publications. And the books that he's written focuses primarily on the condition of the heart. He's got 2 series. The one is called The 10 Scrolls, and the other one is Father's Secrets. So the 10 Scrolls, I'm not going to give away too much because we want him to tell the story, right?
Yes. But it was interesting reading his bio. He's fascinating.
Very fascinating person, yes. He also founded an initiative called Guardians of the Earth, which is a global charity foundation aimed at saving the environment and animal life. So he's got a soft spot for the environment and animals. He's also an entrepreneur, and he calls himself an annoyingly secretive perfectionist. Shall we bring him on screen?
Yes, make sure everything's right. So, the perfectionist, so we got to make sure all your things are lined up behind you. No, I'm kidding. I know, I get it. I totally get it. Being a mom.
Let's welcome Gilbert. Hello and welcome with us.
Hi, Brigetti. Hi, Mary, and
hi
everybody that's watching.
There he is.
The wonderful connection speed between Africa and all the servers.
Hey, Gilbert, can I ask you a question real quick? How close are you to where Brigetti is? Where are you at in the world?
I'm also in Cape Town, South Africa, and I don't think I'm quite far from
Oh, wonderful. Fellow mate.
No,
Sorry.
we're not too far away from each other.
Oh, wonderful.
So you've got two series. The one series that you've got, are they very different from each other, or are they linked?
In a way, they are linked. As you would also know from previous things that we've worked together on, is that I am very involved in political and people and humanitarian activities, specifically philanthropic activities. That's more so than political. But when it comes to what we do as a business, and then also myself as an author, I try to focus the stuff I do around the human condition and how I can assist, and with the skills you have and with the words you have, and you interweave those together to create change and to get to people to be able to share what your philosophy is and see if they match with that philosophy and join you in changing things around them. The 10 Scrolls is the first series, and I started writing those, and I'm still busy writing this series. And Mary would share with me here, if you're an author, and my surname happens to be Martin, so I'm just like George Martin. I sort of half write something, and then I never get to finishing it, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, 5 or 6 books come out at one go because I decide now I need to finish them. So I think it's a Martin trait where we get to middle of things and you leave it till the end to complete. But the first one was focused around two things. It's more of a journey of faith and courage. Obviously, you would understand young adults and children's books are usually written around courage. And I decided I want to do it about faith and courage, learning faith and learning courage. But more so, I took it into the broader perspective of our country that we live in. And you would know, Brigitte, South Africa, it's a very diverse country. It's a very beautiful country. Its people are magnificent, magical. And that's what the book goes about. And this book focuses a lot on the journey we have together and the journey our country still has to take together, in the magic we have to discover and the changes we can bring together. So I won't divulge too much of the plot. The plot only begins in the first book, and it sort of splits into many different plots. I tried something very different with my writing style, was to complicate it. Usually you have a stringent plot and a stringent end, whereas I want to run the series into multiple different lines of plots and get it to the end, where the end will be what the end result is. But it's decided by the reader and decided by your heart, which is why it's called the 10 Scrolls, and they're called journeys, because they are journeys of each different type of human quality. The first one being the journey of trust. The next book coming out will be the journey of understanding, and so on. So it centralizes around the journeys we take together to reach common goals, and each individual's bravery and each individual's courage, and most importantly, their faith in believing in things to be where they should be.
And so I want to know what got you started as a writer? You know, what is it that made you want to write?
When I was in Johannesburg in 2012, I got involved in a lot of children's charities. And the children never hear positive stories, and they never get told that if you do something, and you do it together, most importantly, not just on your own, you can achieve anything. And I was amazed that we as adults, we're always getting WhatsApp messages and emails, and back then you didn't have WhatsApp, but you had all these mails that came through and these positive stories on the internet about be strong, be courageous, always believe in yourself, do your best, and they didn't have that. So I thought, let me start writing, and writing for the younger adults, those who are not children, but those who are going to it, and adults as well, who just don't believe that when you do things together and working together as one, you'll be able to achieve something. And that is what I started writing specifically for, was because there was no one telling them that it's going to be okay, that even though things are bad now, it'll be better. And I wanted that to be able to extrude from the words of that book.
Yeah. And do you find that writing gives you energy on a level, or do you find it draining? Does it energize you or not?
It makes me happy. It makes me happy because you get a lot of the thoughts out. And you also have a way of discovering the answer that you yourself are looking for. So as an author, I write, and people will tell you he writes code, he writes books, he writes a lot of nonsense on Facebook. And we write because it expresses us. It expresses our desires, it expresses our heart, it expresses our condition. And it also expresses what we want to achieve with the things around us. And that's why I love it. I like to express myself with my words.
So I know for a lot of writers, they kind of feel a sense of relief when they get the thoughts onto paper. Is that how you feel when you write?
Yeah, very much so. I'm generally writing, as I said to you, if you look at the other author, that surname has got Martin in it. Everybody's fighting with him at the moment for not finishing one of his books in his series. And you run around with all these ideas, you scribble notes everywhere, which you eventually throw away and don't remember where you put them. And then when you eventually just say, okay, I'm going to sit down now and I'm going to finish this part, and when it's done, it feels like you've just suddenly entered into a new world, not just the world that you were busy creating, but actually the world that's around you without this, oh, I had to remember that. So yes, it's a massive relief when you write down something and it's just out there and on paper, and it can be edited.
So now, a lot of people write one book. You've written 2 series, and the first one is there's 10 books in this series. How did you do that? How was that writing process for you? Did you have a hard time editing the material because you had 10 volumes? Or did they just kind of flow and intermingle one from the other?
I think some people have a lot to say. I think series writers, people that write trilogies and people that write, take Tolkien, for example. He's probably the most complex writer that there was in stories, but he had a lot to say, and he developed his world from dust particles. And I think if you look at his upbringing and his faith, it's called faith as well, you'll see where it stems from. Is he likes to explain things down to the little detail. It's not a plastic bottle, it's a plastic bottle, and there was a red label and there was white writing, and then explain what was written on it down to the label for content. So it's a way of expressing, and you can't explain something very complex in one book. So I decided to continue writing, and then I said, okay, let's make this 10 books and decide that we're cutting it off on the 10th one. And when I got to the 10th, most of them have now been the only one that's still available publicly at the moment is the first and the second edition of the first book, because I've brought it down to change the plot. So very few people would have the second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. books. I will make them available later in the year as a last print for the first editions, but the second editions will be a more complete plot, and it's also one that is able to be taken into a dialogue format for scripts and theatre play. Mary would understand the complication of taking one's written word and making it something that's a screenplay. It's just not that easy if you're not into that sort of thing.
I can well imagine. I just want to let Mary know. Mary, if you're watching, what you can do is just refresh your browser and then try and come back in again. Click on the link again, and hopefully we can get you back on again. In your first series, are there any secrets in there that you deliberately hid from the readers that would be difficult for them to find?
Many. And right from the start of the second book, I immediately they have an aha moment from the first book if they read it well. And so it continues. So I try to weave a very complicated nest with the books, where one would affect the other, and each journey has a very, very intricate part of the plot. So when you're reading the first book, you're reading something that has its height, and then it has its down low to where a character is introduced at the end of the book. And it's like where's this going to? So you would read the second book, and that plot would then weave. And then eventually, when you look at the whole book as the first three books, and you start realizing, okay, but hang on, this is building up to something. And so it continues until the plot itself. So I try to bring parts of the plot together to make a bigger plot across the whole series of books.
So that's quite interesting. So you kind of, if you've read the first two, for example, you would feel compelled to read the rest of the series because you don't get the full story.
Yeah, it would sort of leave loose ends to the story, and you wouldn't be able to intertwine. You wouldn't be able to get to the end. So if you read the first and you read the 10th, it'll make absolutely no sense. But if you read it straight throughout, everything would carry the story through.
And the characters in the series, in the 10 Scrolls, are they entirely fictional, or are they based on real characters?
That would be if any author would admit that, then you'd have everybody running and saying, "But that reminds me of me." Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. As long as the reader connects to the characters, that's what would matter.
And so I'm gathering from what you've told me so far that you enjoy twists and plots more than strong characters, or is it kind of a mix between the two?
It's a mix between the two. Your twists and your plots tend to be broken or strengthened by the characters. So depending on if the character is strong-willed or if the character is courageous enough, you can change the plot and the outcome. So if you think about life, it has the same effect. So, and we're South African, there's always a plot and a twist every day. So the book takes that terminology. So people that will understand South Africans will understand the book very well.
So ideally, your book is then written for South Africans specifically, or would international readers also get the story?
I wrote the first one as a fictional series so that one couldn't annotate it to people, but enveloped in it is a struggle, is a struggle and a defeat, but also how courage and faith can change those situations. So whether one applies it to the experience from where I wrote it and the heart from where I wrote it, it's very, very important for South Africans, but it's also more so important for the rest of the world because they have very similar situations where you have division. And unity is what changes things in the world, and that's more where the book is sort of guiding everybody towards, to say, how do we walk on the road together? So is it just for South Africans? No, it's for anybody that likes to read a warm-hearted story about courage and victory in the darkest moments.
And tell us a little bit about Father's Secrets. How is it different from the 10 Scrolls?
Father's Secrets is a very deep series. Although its publication links are sitting on my profile, which is where you found them, I was amazed you did. They are almost done and ready for publication. I'd like to have them done by December, but I don't think I will be able to. You would understand, some of the projects that I work on, for example, and those things have priorities. But that book is very personal, and that series is very personal because it takes... Every one of us has a story to tell, and I have one, and I wanted to tell that story. And my story is very simply how I overcame things, how I had to struggle, how I made mistakes, how I failed, how I came out of those failures. And it revolves around that. And that's why I call it Father's Secrets, because it goes about secrets that I learned and how I applied it to my faith and my belief, and how that I reapplied to my life. And it's fixed things and some things didn't fix, but it's not a self-help guide, it's a story, and the story is what everybody else out there lives like, and where everybody else does their daily activities and their daily struggles, and how to overcome them. So it's a very deep, one would say, a religious book, but it's more designed to be spiritual and enlightening than it is to be judgmental and unreasonable and understandable, as such as most people would put it.
And are your books, are they aimed at sort of young reader? Well, you said the first series is mainly aimed at young readers, and the second one I would say is more of an adult book.
Yeah, it's for anybody. The starting series starts off very young, so it can be for young adults all the way to old people. To our beloved elderly, let's not call them old. And the first book is young adult, but also for science fiction lovers. Anybody that loves that will love the book and the story and what I try to build in that world. But yeah, so it's a hodgepodge.
So my next question is: a lot of people out there, everyone's got a book in them, and but not everyone gets published. How was the journey for you from the point that you started writing and getting published? Was it difficult to get published?
Yes. The worst thing was having to. I first thought I don't need an agent, and I'm going to self-publish and do my own marketing. If you would know, I'm also an entrepreneur.
A lot of people start out thinking that way, and I mean, we've had so many guests on the show already, and so the reason I'm asking you that question is that a lot of them have said, some have said it was difficult to self-publish, and others said it was easy, but everyone's story was slightly different. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about your journey to getting published.
Mine was easy. I had the right tools. I also remember as an entrepreneur, I also design, and so I can basically produce the material I need to send it to print and to get that. I also had access to the right companies and people that would produce the self-publication material, that I didn't have to handle the warehousing and anything to that effect. I did quite a good amount of sales from the first and second books in the series, and then obviously didn't focus too much on marketing as we embarked on writing code after that. After writing books, we wrote code, so it's a different thing that you started developing on. But it wasn't easy. Getting ISBN numbers is the first thing. It's very important, and my advice to authors on that one is just go to your local library or the Pretoria Library and get your ISBN number and start writing. Just take this thing and just start writing. And if you write 1 page a week, that's fine. You will get to 250 weeks, whether it be a year or 2 or 3 years. Your story can be written. And I also believe that the path to take a self-published route is where it gives a little bit of value for the agent and the publisher who has to invest money in you as well. That you say, look, the book is popular, I'm able to market it myself, so you've got a sellable thing. And when they took the book, they weren't very happy. They ripped it to pieces. Too much commas, big red grammar. The editor was vicious. But that is how you learned, and you sort of write in a different way, and you learn to correlate little grammatical mistakes that you commonly make, and you don't realize you're doing it until you actually get that big red check sheet manuscript that looks like it's been painted red. And yeah, so it's a lesson to learn when you're actually going on the self-publishing route, but it's a good route to start if you get rejected by the agents outright, to at least see whether you're going to gain market traction.
Yeah. Did you use, considering that you are a programmer, did you have any special writing software, or did you just go Notepad or Word? How do you write?
With Word. I just use Word. I always say, as long as I think you put a capital letter for me at the beginning of the sentence, and it's fine, because in programming it doesn't matter. And yes, I just use Word. I'm generally good at spelling. grammar is something that South Africans have a lot to learn about, unless you really did good. I had high grades in English. I just never realized some of the mistakes I make. And overuse of commas. It's the worst thing ever. That was my biggest flaw, where I eventually had one manuscript sent back with one comment in the front, remove commas and I'll check again. So she just read the first page. And there was colorful language left out of it because we had a very good personal relationship, the editor and I, so it was not something that I would repeat on air.
Has the ability to write changed you as a person? Once you got published, did you look at life differently?
No. I realized that one writes for many reasons. Some authors write, obviously, for as an income. They just write for an income. I tend to write because I've got something to say or something that's bugging me or something that I believe we can change. And when you eventually write the book and you put it out there and yes, there's good traction and people are interested in what you have to say and they read what you say and they comment on what you say, it's very enthralling. But when you get to the end and it's published, you suddenly realize like, okay, but now I've got to do the next one. And it's as if all that happy moment is sort of like, okay, the next one has to now happen. And the grounding reality of it is you started something, you have to get to the end of it. So only for a short while are you ecstatic and then suddenly you realize, okay, but now it's the next one.
Absolutely. So now I can't believe 30 minutes is gone. Where can people find your books? In other words, where can they buy them?
I would advise them at this current moment. I have Facebook pages up called Gilbert Martin II, as well as the 10 Scrolls. If you search them, you'll find them. They're on the top. And then obviously they are available from Amazon and most US, European, Asian, Australian bookstores, online bookstores. There are some places, I know in South Africa, for example, there were a few exclusive books where I did manage to stumble across a book, so I was actually amazed, but that was because people requested them there. But generally, any online bookstore, Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, what was the other big one, Nielsen. My books are in the Nielsen catalog, so you can generally find them. And if you can't find them, you get the ISBN from one of our websites. And you can just ask your favorite bookstore to order them for you, and they will know where to order them from.
So you said for now there's 2 in the series that's available publicly of the 10 Scrolls.
Yeah, and they won't be for long because the rewrites will be available only until December. Then I'll be taking those ones off. So there are some secrets in that book specifically that I take out in the new rewrites before taking them out of print.
Oh my goodness! I've got a funny feeling that this is going to be a revolving story, an evolving story.
We hope so.
Thanks very much for being a fantastic guest today. Thanks everyone for watching today. Please go out and have a look for the 10 Scrolls by Gilbert Martin. Buy the book. And as he did point out, there's a timeline to this because he's going to be taking it out of circulation to switch up the story a little bit. So to try and lay your hands on the books before that happens. Gilbert, I want to say thank you so much. It was awesome having you as a guest today. And I hope that people will connect with you. They can connect with you on Facebook. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so Gilbert E. Martin on Facebook. And also, I think you've got a page that, as you said, a page called The 10 Scrolls.
Yeah. If you go to www.facebook.com/10 Scrolls, I just want to make sure that link. If I put that or 10, it's The 10 Scrolls.
The 10 Scrolls.
Oh, no, hang on.
Okay. Let's just make sure.
Yeah.
What I'll do is after the show, I will put that I'll put the links into the comments so that we've got the correct ones.
Yes, that's correct. I will provide that link to you now. I've got it in front of me, so it's
okay.
not that one.
Perfect. That sounds great. And then you said you're hoping to get Father Secrets out either the end of the year or early next year sometime.
Yeah, and that one's very deep. For there's many people that do know me and know the work I get involved with. When I do appear in public causing trouble, in protests and the like, as we did a while back with the 7th of April. That's it's revolves a lot around that, and I guess a lot around the people and the feeling so we all have as a country, and it's going to be very, very interesting to read that.
Okay. Thanks, Gilbert. It was great having you on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Bridget.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And we'll be back again next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Writers Corner Live. Thank you for joining us live, and thank you for those watching us on the replay. From me, Bridget, from Cape Town. And I'm also going to say goodbye on behalf of Mary. Mary, I'm not quite sure what happened, but some technical issues there. So from myself, Bridget Limbanda, and my co-host, Mary, goodbye for now.